All right, this is going to be an overview of how to design the Poly Art laser cut puzzle. So first and foremost, you're going to need a reference picture. You don't need to use a reference picture if you feel comfortable designing your own poly art. That's awesome. If you're somebody like me who needs a little help, feel free to use a reference picture. So I've opened my reference picture here in Illustrator. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to open a puzzle file. So I'm going to go to File, New, and we are going to set these units over here. So you're going to want to make sure these units are in inches, and you are going to do a width of 9 and a height of 5, and you're going to hit create. So the puzzle dimensions are 4 inches by 5 inches, and we have made this wider than we need because we need to do a couple of different layers for the puzzle, which you'll understand more as you understand a little bit more about laser cutting. But all you have to do to start out is click on the rectangle tool, and you're simply just going to click, not a click and drag, just a click, and that allows you to set the size of rectangles. So we're going to make it 4 by 5 and hit OK. It's going to put it here. You're going to need to go to your move tool, move it, and I would just move it to the corner right there. That's fine. And what you're going to want to do here is, if you see here, if we click this, currently the background is white. You can see that if I move it into the gray spot, which we don't want, we want it to be transparent. So we click on the white and click on the strike through, and that makes sure that there's no color in there. And then I'm going to copy and paste this using Control-C, Control-V, and just put my other half over here. So this will make sense when we start to do it, but this is going to be the backing of the puzzle, and this is where this is going to be the frame part. So I'm going to go ahead, and since I need a reference image, I'm going to bring it into my file here. I'm going to shrink it down by a lot. All right, so picture's going to be deleted, so it doesn't really matter how you do it. So you are going to make a low poly piece of art here. So if you're doing it on your own, you can kind of look up like low poly images and see how they work. If you're doing a reference, you kind of have to figure out how you want to break this down into a low poly artwork. So we're going to use for this the pen tool. The pen tool is up here. You're going to click it. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to make sure the stroke, which is right here, it's this back one, has a color. So you have to do a couple things. You may need to go over here to properties and turn on the stroke. Well, first we have to give it a color. Then you may have trouble turning it on like I am right now. I can't really do that. If you click first, so I'm going to click somewhere. Now I can give it a stroke. I'm going to give it a stroke of 1. And the color I chose, it doesn't matter what color. So we're going to make a low poly art style. So what you're going to do is, if you just move your mouse and click, you're able to make little pieces here. So I'm going to click this, okay? And when I do that, I've made one puzzle piece, okay? And that's basically how you do this. It's not very complicated. You kind of break it down into polygons. That's why it's called low poly art. So maybe my next piece looks like this. Now notice what I'm doing here. I'm connecting it directly to the line that it just was on. However, look at this. Look at these dots. They need to match the line, and then you need to close it. So you need to come over here, click again. That closes that line, okay? So sometimes, oops, if you forget to do that, it causes issues. Also, sometimes when I go and try to put another dot on here, it erases it. If that happens, just hold shift and click. It'll fix that for you. So I'm going to go ahead and create just the leg of this to show you how this works. So again, look, I'm using the points and I'm making sure I'm snapping to those points, because when we laser cut it, we don't want any gaps in the design, because then things start to act weird. So let's go over here, and you're free to do whatever, type of pieces you want. You can make them cool shapes. You can, you know, whatever you think looks good. I'm going to go like that for this one. So eventually you'll get to the bottom if you're using a reference image. If you're not using a reference image, obviously your process is going to be a little different. But this is how I'm doing mine. And Control Z is your best friend when you do this. So if you're having a lot of mistakes, just you hit Control Z, it fixes it. Go down here. And I will cover, you know, I'll go back and do the little claw type thingies over here. But let's leave that for now. Okay. So that's just one piece here. Okay. So you can see how I've made that polygon structure around the panda here. Now, if I were to do all of this, you know, do all the polygons all over the body, when you're done, you delete the picture and you'll be left with the result, which will be your poly art. Okay. So if I just show you very quickly, you know, I'll do this. This is what you don't want to do. You don't want to make such big pieces like this, but I do want to show you kind of what a semi-finished project looks like. So you can see I'm still connecting to lines. When you use the pen tool, sometimes it when you do it again, it will not have a stroke color. You just need to click that to get back to it. So let's just continue this around really quick. And this takes practice. Using the pen tool is very hard for some people. I make it look a little easy because I've had a bunch of experience using this for a while. So if it's not working well for you when you are just starting out, that's okay. It takes a lot of practice to get this good, not to brag. Sorry guys, you might hear some sirens in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm gonna go up there like that with this one. And again, you are just connecting to lines. Now you don't want to leave gaps in these lines because if you think about how the laser cutter works, each line, it's like cutting with a pair of scissors. It's going to cut out each line like you cutting with scissors on paper. So if you put a gap, it's going to make a gap in your design. And that means for this kind of art style, your puzzle is not going to fit together perfectly, which would not be the end of the world, but you probably want your stuff to look nice. Okay, so I'm just going to do the ears roughly really quick. And even if you're using a reference image, feel free to kind of riff and do your own thing. If you want to use the reference image just to get a shape or something, and then you want to go off and do your own design, I would love that. If you feel more comfortable doing a reference image and just copying it, that's cool. I just want you to have creative freedom in that, so anything you do is going to be cool. Okay, this mouth might look a little creepy. All right, so you've done, again, do not do big pieces like this. You would want to break all of these down into, different pieces to make it a little bit more, challenging for people. You don't want just big pieces. That's kind of boring. But for our quick example, this works. So you're left with, your overall puzzle design. So depending on how big this is, you're going to want to, make it bigger because you want to take up most of this space. So what's going to happen is we're going to put this in the laser cutter. The pieces I've highlighted, the pieces are going to be cut through this piece. And then we will take the pieces, that's going to be the puzzle portion. Then we will put the negative. So if you think about the negative of what this is going to look like when it's laser cut, it'll really look like, let's go like that. So really, it's going to look like this. It'll be a piece of wood with this cut out of it. And then we're going to glue this on top. So it's like a frame. And then these little blue pieces would come out. And that's how your puzzle works. Okay? You are free to paint your puzzle when you're done if we have the paint supplies. But this is kind of just a basic overview of how your puzzle is going to work using Illustrator.